everybody, this is Cody Smith. Welcome to my channel, Cody Smith, Peer Support with Christ. I just want to let everyone know I finished chapter 10 of my book, The World of Disability, and I started chapter 11, which talks about my life after leaving college because I left college due to a neck injury because, like I mentioned in chapter 10, I had a injury due to the fact that I was wearing braces on my legs that were supposed to help with stability, range of motion, balance, things like that. But unfortunately, they were not made properly because the way they're made is they're made through a cast molding of my leg, and they measure like the angle that gives me the best balance, stability, range of motion, and they make them based off of that. But unfortunately, the angle was off by about 3 degrees, which threw my balance off, causing me to fall and hit my head several times. And that resulted in me developing 3 herniated discs in my neck that, as they grew and swelled up, they compressed my spinal cord. And it got to the point, especially with the first one, that I couldn't bend over, I couldn't swallow or anything like that. So, that was the problem. And by the time we finally found the first one and had the surgery to remove it, which is called a cervical discectomy, because it was up here in my neck where the cervical discs are, then the doctor, the surgeon, could see that the two beneath it were beginning to bulge and swell. So he knew that I was probably going to have two more. And the only reason he didn't do anything about it then and there is because he felt that would be too invasive of a surgery and it would take too long to heal and cause too much pain. And I personally don't fault him for that, but I also feel like if he had, you know, done it immediately, then, I wouldn't be stuck in my wheelchair like I am right now, like I've been since basically 2018, and it's 2025. But, you know, that's, neither here nor there. We've done what we've done, and it's over with. And I will say, in chapter 11, in my after college, I began to do, I began to come to work with my mom because with me being stuck in my wheelchair, I need her help to move around and even just to hold me upright so I can move. And she would help me with those types of things. But, you know, aside from that, I was at her office with her and I began to do, the clerical work like signing patients in and out of the system and taking people's temperatures, especially after COVID hit, and things like that, because that was extra work that she had to do because she owned the clinic. But, that was taken away from her time seeing patients, and she couldn't afford to do that. So she offered it to me, and I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. So I began doing that, and I began meeting a lot of the patients, and they all seemed to like me, so I wasn't really complaining about that. And, you know, at least it was something to do. And, honestly, like I also say in chapter 10, a disability does not take away someone's humanity, does not lessen someone's humanity, because our humanity is based on our internal makeup, our genetics. Because, our genetics determine, what we are: human, dog, cat, pig, whatever. So, you know, that's the whole thing. So, disability, life circumstances, poverty, you know, sickness, all of that, they have no bearing on it. And plus, you have to have a standard of health, as I've said before, in order to differentiate between truly healthy, fully healthy, versus injured, versus sick, versus diseased, versus disabled. And unless we started out as perfectly healthy at some point in the past, how would we know that we've degraded down to the point of having a disability such as cerebral palsy or anything like that? And how would we be able to differentiate between the different disabilities, the levels of severity, and all those things? That is the main question, and that's something I cover in chapter 10 leading up into chapter 11 where I talk about my post college years, because how would I know that I've had an injury such as a herniated disc that's caused me nerve damage and therefore increased the severity of my original disability if I had no way to measure, you know, my current state of health against anything that says this is the most pristine state of health that a human can have, and measuring mine against it, I can tell, okay, I've got a problem. Something's going wrong. Something's happened. You know, I do not reach that standard, so, something about me has been damaged. My health has been, you know, degraded. I've fallen beneath it, you know, but still, again, I'm still fully human. I still have all the characteristics that make a human, but, my health is, not as good as it should be. I'm not at that standard. I don't meet that standard, but that doesn't affect my humanity because I still have all the qualities that make a human a human. I still have human DNA. I still have the physical features of a human being. I still have the abilities, such as the ability to talk, the ability to think, the ability to decide, choose, build, create, learn, grow, and things like that a human has. It's just that in the physical sense, my health is not where I need it to be fully healthy. And that is what I'm really talking about. And I hope that this is kind of an eye opener for everyone, and that this leads to questions and conversations between people with and without disabilities, because I want us to engage in conversation and truly get to know each other. Because until you talk to someone and get to know their story, you're never going to know, okay, I may have a problem, but this person may have the solution, because what I struggle with may be something that they overcome, and they may be struggling with something different that I've overcome, so I can help them and they can help me, and so on and so forth, and we can work together as partners and build a team to help us both and do that for others as well. That is what I'm ultimately reaching for with all this, and I hope that this gets people to begin those conversations and learn from each other, not just people with disabilities, but anybody and everybody, so that we can truly know each other as equal human beings. Keeping in mind, this person has the same internal makeup as I do, even though their external features, external circumstances that they are in may be different, but therein again, they didn't choose theirs, I didn't choose mine, so I can't fault them for it, and they can't fault me for mine. And all we can do is sit and talk and get to know each other and each other's circumstances and see how we can help each other and work together. That's what I want, and that's what I'm hoping for. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Please like, share, subscribe, and please leave any questions or comments you have, and I'll be sure to try and address them in any way, whether it be in my book or a video or both. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.